We knocked out the original trilogy. We knocked out the prequels. It's time to talk about the sequels. Now, when it came to a new Star Wars movie, it was like the hype was real because each generation had its own Star Wars. You know, the 70s was A New Hope, the 80s was Empire and Jedi, the 90s was The Phantom Menace, and the 2000s were Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So in the 2010s, I was a teenager. Up to this point, I have already seen every Star Wars movie. I was a big fan of the cartoons. I loved the video games, everything about it. So when The Force Awakens came out, this was a hype. Like, we had a project back in the days when I was working for a company named Urban Life. We had an idea of having an event where it was myself and 49 other people. We all bought tickets to go see Star Wars, and they rented the theater for us, and it was an experience. Nothing like it would ever top it. It was incredible. I was just so happy that we got to see this movie. Now the question is, does The Force Awakens hold up? Yes and no. Don't get me wrong, I still like the movie. I was still happy with what it has given us, and that has given us excitement for a new Star Wars trilogy. And everybody was happy for this. J.J. Abrams, up to this point, had already done Star Trek, so I was very excited to see what he was able to do with Star Wars. And the biggest complaint that people had for The Force Awakens was it was too much like A New Hope. Almost exactly like it. Now, when it tried to do different stuff, it did feel like J.J. Abrams kind of caved in and stuck to the similarities just to not make it too different. And, part of the problem why the prequels didn't work is because it was just trying so much to be um, political, thriller, sit down, walking and talking, goofy relationships. Like, don't get me wrong, the chemistry with these characters are a lot better in this movie than in the prequels. And I was very happy with some of the new characters. I'm gonna say something very unpopular, but Poe Dameron was a character I could have seen be dead, and people would have remembered him for generations. Almost some of the best characters in Star Wars are only side characters that only appear in one movie. Tarkin appeared in only one movie, not counting Rogue One, and people know who that is. People gravitated towards that character, and people loved that character. They could have done the same thing with Poe Dameron, but they insisted on bringing him back. And it kind of made no sense. They last minute wrote, and even J.J. Abrams has confirmed that, like, oh, Poe Dameron was supposed to be dead, but then they brought him back because he was so popular. And yeah, I do like Poe Dameron, but yeah, Finn was hands down the best character of this movie. A stormtrooper that in his first mission he sees someone he is close to die, and one of the best things about Star Wars, sometimes the best moments are with no dialogue, where they just show you how things are. Unfortunately, Finn just wasn't happy with his first mission, and he realized he has to escape, which is why he frees Poe Dameron, and right away they just clicked immediately. There was a rumor that they were gonna be in a relationship in episodes 8 and 9. Unfortunately, that never happens. And Finn really did carry most of this movie. When Finn ends up in Jakku, where he finds Rey, who up to this point we don't know who this is. All we know is that she's the one who found BB-8, who has a map to Luke Skywalker. Rey doesn't know this. Matter of fact, people don't even know that what happened years ago with Luke, Han, and Leia. They thought those things were just fairy tales, but no, these things were true. It gets devastating when Finn talks about his backstory of like how he was taken away as an orphan and he never got to meet his real family. He was a stormtrooper from the beginning. He was trained to be a stormtrooper. In his first mission, he felt that scene where Finn is opening up to Rey. That was beautiful, and I was very disappointed with what they did with Finn in episodes 8 and 9. And I feel like they dropped the ball in making him not the focus. Um, and don't get me wrong, a Skywalker doesn't always need to be the focus. I mean, the prequels, obviously, the whole purpose was for Anakin to join the dark side. A Skywalker was a focus, but we can also make the argument that Obi-Wan was the main character. So you could have still had stuff with, the Skywalkers being the main centerpiece of the episode sequel trilogy, but you could still do other things where you're introducing new characters and making them the focus. Eventually, when Rey, Finn, and BB-8 escape from the First Order, they find the Millennium Falcon, which belongs to Han Solo and Chewie, who eventually find this. And then they go off to this mission where even they meet up with Maz Kanata, someone who I kind of wish they did more with later on, or they could have just left her in this movie and not bring her back. But I don't know. That's another thing. They keep like limiting who they do and do not bring, and when I get to episodes 8 and 9, I have more problems with it. But I was really happy with Rey kind of seeing those visions because she is one with the Force. We could have had a story of her figuring out what exactly she has. Like, is she a Jedi? Is she a rebel? Like, what is she? And I like that they didn't give us everything right away. But her figuring out everything really quick was a little too silly for me. I don't know, how does Rey know all this stuff? Maybe they could have explained it in a better movie down the road, but they never did that. And it does hurt this movie. Um, Starkiller Base, I was cool with like a planet being this star destroyer, planet destroyer, whatever you call it. But now they exaggerated and it destroyed like a bunch of planets at once. That's when I realized I'm like, okay, they're doing a lot of repetition of A New Hope. What I do appreciate is that they do focus on these new characters and giving you interesting things with them, but they also show a lot of love and respect to Han Solo. Han Solo was, man, he did a fantastic performance. Even though he hates Han Solo as a character, he did such a great job in this movie. Even with the marketing up to this point, I remember the build to The Force Awakens. This was my Phantom Menace as far as the hype for this movie. And Han Solo did a lot of good things with Chewie, even sharing guns. Everything about Harrison Ford, his performance was really good. How he was very ignorant in the sequel trilogy, but now he's like, no, all of that stuff that went down was true, all of it. Even I'm shocked with it. And him reuniting with Leia, there was a lot of unfortunate things because Kylo Ren, who is a great character in this movie, he is Han and Leia's son. And we learned that Snoke kind of motivated him. He kind of got into his head and basically made him join the dark side. So Kylo Ren had a lot of layers in here. And he's still angry. Like, I people laugh about Kylo Ren getting angry, breaking stuff, but I get it. He's a teenager, you something different, They could have worked it out and they could have written it better. But Kylo Ren being this angry guy all the time, it kind of worked. Later we found out that Luke trained them, but then Leia and Han were like hoping to go on this mission and hopefully help Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo, I should say, join the Resistance yet again. But boy, oh boy, were we wrong because this led to one of the most tragic deaths in Star Wars history. Kylo Ren kills Han Solo in this movie. I was like, no, this is how he goes. But you know what? I was happy because now this helped develop Kylo Ren into an even bigger threat. Because even though, yes, Han Solo isn't super powerful, he did in fact kill his father. But it really showed you that there was like a chance that Ben could have been good again. But this was the nail in the coffin that, he's done. And, that final battle with Finn, earlier on in the movie, Finn grabs the lightsaber and he is learning how to use it. He's still not the best, but he's still learning. Traitor versus Finn was great. Rey catching the lightsaber, fighting Kylo Ren, and being this all powerful one, while Finn was the one that was trained in battle. Rey has never held a lightsaber. Rey has never been in a battle. Like what I would have done personally, I would have had Finn and Kylo Ren fight. Kylo Ren is about to kill Finn, but then Rey just pushes the Force on Kylo Ren, stopping him, and then they escape. That's what I would have done personally. After this beatdown, Finn went nowhere, unfortunately, and there was still some errors and things that they could have fixed to make this a really phenomenal movie, and it still is a really good movie. I'm gonna say something very unpopular, but I do enjoy this movie more than Return of the Jedi. It's not as good as Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, and A New Hope. But this would be probably fourth up to now. There is another movie that I think is better than The Force Awakens that we're gonna be reviewing very soon down the road. So stay tuned for that. You can probably guess which one it is. Um, but the ending where Luke is finally being found, BB-8 has half of the map. Later, R2-D2 turns on. I kind of wish they explained more. I think there was a side of me that wanted to believe that Luke Skywalker personally told R2 to um not come back unless it's a huge emergency. They could have done something cool with it, but again, what could have been. When we get to The Last Jedi, I have a lot of stuff to say about that movie, but there's a lot of unanswered questions that kind of hurt this movie, and it also kind of helped this movie because now it still gets you invested because this is the first movie since The Empire Strikes Back in the Star Wars series where the movie ends in a cliffhanger. Rey finds Luke Skywalker, hands him his old lightsaber. Luke is just questioning what's going on, and then the movie ends. But it ended strong. It ended you excited. We knew that Snoke was gonna bring Kylo Ren and fully finish his training. There was a lot of cool stuff leading the way, and they did a fantastic job with building this up. I do kind of wish that it wasn't so heavily relying on being A New Hope and be its own thing. That, like I said, just little tidbits that could have been tweaked around. I kept saying Finn should have been the main character. But honestly, I cannot hate this movie. I grew up with this. I was 16 when it came out, and I still love watching it. It is just unfortunate that the follow ups kind of hurt this movie. But for me, I'm giving it an A minus. It's a good movie with problems, but it still doesn't take away from my entertainment. It's a really good movie. Definitely my favorite out of the sequel trilogy. And yeah, I was pretty happy with this movie. It gave me some highs and lows, but at the end of the day, I was happy to be a Star Wars fan yet again up to this point. My next review will be a Disney Plus series talking about my favorite Star Wars character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series will be my next review here on Star Wars Week. I'll see you tomorrow with that review, and take care, everybody.